What's up, y'all? It's your man, Dead Dude, bringing you guys another video. So now that it's clear that the Panthers are out of playoff contention and are just overall not a good team and are going to have a new coach next year, all the trade rumors are coming out now for almost, a bunch of players on the roster. Almost every player now has some kind of trade rumor behind them. And, you see a lot of arguments on Twitter and on the radio who should be up for trades and who shouldn't be up for trades. And I love the opinion that the only two players on the roster that I would not trade right now are J.C. Horn and Ikem Ekwonu, because I think those are the two that they're new enough, they're on really good contracts, and their trajectory is that of, all pro caliber players. Like Ekwonu has really come on these last few weeks. He's been great in pass protection. He's, we already knew he was a really good run blocker. And J.C. Horn has been also just really good this year. And it sucks that he got injured, but he's been arguably a top 5 corner this year when he wasn't healthy. So those two players are, in my opinion, are non-starters. You should not trade them at all. But everyone else, I would be okay trading. And that means, yes, Christian McCaffrey. If you can get a good enough return for him, definitely trade him. Brian Burns. I like Brian Burns as much as a lot of people, but I don't think Brian Burns is that upper echelon pass rusher that we all thought he would be. I mean, he's really good, but he's not the upper echelon player that we all thought he'd be. So if you can trade Brian Burns, if you can get good return for him, a first and maybe multiple seconds, or by any chance multiple firsts, trade Brian Burns. And everyone else that can also go. I mean, I like Frankie Louvu a lot, but if you can trade Frankie Louvu, trade him. I'm not sure what Frankie Louvu's contract is like. I don't know if it's a 1-year deal. If it's only a 1-year deal, I'm not sure if anyone's going to trade for a linebacker at this point in the season. But, you never know. If you can get, a good return for him, trade Frankie Louvu as well. Dante Jackson just signed a new deal. Trade Dante if you can get, maybe a second or a third or multiple thirds, whatever you can get. Trade Dante too. Like, everyone on this team should be up for trade except for J.C. Horn and Ikem Ekwonu. I think those are foundational building blocks. Now, Brian Burns can be a foundational building block as well. But we are in, year 4 for Brian Burns? He's going to be up for a huge contract here soon. If you're a team that's already in rebuilding mode, it looks like that rebuilding mode is going to continue for a while. I don't think you can really afford to give a defensive end a huge contract, given where this team is going to be. You're going to be filling a lot of holes going forward with the roster. So it's probably not smart to give a defensive end a huge contract. I'm not saying Brian Burns doesn't deserve that contract. He does. He's been really good. But I don't think he should get that contract from the Panthers. So trade him while you can, while he still has a lot of value. Get a lot of return for him. Hopefully you can get draft picks that are in the upcoming draft that will help you land the franchise quarterback of the future. Or since we already have our first round pick, if you can get another first round pick or another couple first round picks from Brian Burns, you can go into next year's draft. You can get, a number 1 overall quarterback, maybe another offensive lineman and a receiver, all in that draft. And you have all those guys on the same timeline. They can grow and develop together. That would be ideal to me. Now, the one that seems to be the most controversial is Christian McCaffrey for some reason, which I get it. Christian McCaffrey is a fan favorite, but he is an expensive running back on a rebuilding team, which I've made a video in the past about trading Christian McCaffrey. I've also made one about trading Brian Burns. But Christian McCaffrey is an expensive running back on a rebuilding team that does not make a lot of sense. I'm not saying Christian McCaffrey isn't great. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve his money. He definitely does. He performed. He put up the numbers necessary to get the contract that he has. He deserves the money. But on a rebuilding team, an expensive running back, no matter how great he is, doesn't make a lot of sense. So you should trade McCaffrey. I think McCaffrey, despite the injuries, still has a good deal of value for the right team. We've heard the Bills a lot. I imagine McCaffrey on the Bills would be, amazing. McCaffrey with a team like the Ravens, I can see McCaffrey doing a lot of damage on a team like the Ravens, where you have the Lamar and Christian McCaffrey in the backfield at the same time. The things you can do with that he makes a lot of sense for them. McCaffrey makes sense for every team, but I'm trying to think of teams who have an especially dynamic offense where McCaffrey does make even more sense for them. And the Bills or the Ravens are top of my mind. I would say the Packers, but the Packers do have, in Aaron Jones, a really good running back, and A.J. Dillon, a pretty good backup running back. So I'm not sure they'd be inclined to trade for McCaffrey. Whatever team you could think of that has a dynamic offense that could use a dynamic running back to fit into that can improve their offense, McCaffrey fits. And if you can get a first round pick, I have a hard time, thinking the Panthers could get a first round pick from McCaffrey. given the contract and given his injury history. But if you can get a first round pick for McCaffrey, great, do that deal. If you can get multiple seconds for McCaffrey, I would also do that deal because again, his contract on a rebuilding team just doesn't make sense to me. So this is the time of year, especially with the trade deadline coming up and the Panthers not being good and it's seeming like there's going to be a fire sale on this team where you're going to see a lot of trade rumors. And while there isn't a player on the Panthers that I don't like. So I'm not sitting here hoping that, certain guys get traded. But I am hoping that the team I root for, that the organization is able to get proper return for these guys, take those draft assets, and then hopefully those draft assets are in this upcoming draft. And this turnaround can happen a lot sooner if you get a lot of draft assets in this coming draft, where I said before you get your quarterback of the future, give maybe another offensive lineman, get another receiver, and maybe a tight end. You can fill a lot of holes on this roster in one draft if you can get enough draft capital. And if it takes sending out some fan favors to do that, so be it. It won't be fun. Won't be happy seeing McCaffrey or Brian Burns or other players go. But sometimes it's what you got to do. That's all I have for you with this one, guys. If you enjoyed this video, go hit that thumbs up. And if you're so inclined, subscribe and leave a comment. I respond to almost everything. And I'll see you guys in the next one.